All right. Welcome, everyone, to Free Markets Green Earth, episode number 58. I'm Nicky P here, as always, with the Liberty Hippie, Ben. How are we doing there today, Ben?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Nicky?
I am doing excitedly because I'm gonna start this episode off by putting you on the spot
Okay.
and forcing you to have to do something, whether or not you want to. And that something, folks, is
Uh-oh.
I I have gotten Ben to agree to finally do the bonus material with me of us going through the entire Captain Planet cartoon series. So
It's
hopefully,
exciting. I honestly, I can't wait. I'm just like so excited.
I watched the first episode last night, and I'm like, oh my god, please. Before we started recording today, we were going through like the cast list that was in the show, and it's just like, man, like every big time character actor that's ever been was in
It's
this show at some
impressive.
point. Like it was very impressive. I completely moved past the fact that the main
It's
Gaia
almost
character is Whoopi
frightening.
Goldberg. But yeah, I watched the first episode. Ben's still got to watch it, and then we're gonna start recording these. But I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Rip it
So
apart.
something to that effect.
Depends how you just define fun, I guess. But
I mean, it
fun
was
for them, torture for me.
basically. But we're putting ourselves.
Childhood memories, right?
There was definitely a nostalgia factor in watching that show. I can say that much. So that aside, while that is fun to look forward to, what we got to look forward to today is I actually went through and we really need to thank people like Alex Epstein because man, did he do a whole lot of work and make the job of standing up for progress and innovation and not being climate catastrophist or climate alarmist, whichever term you choose to use, it makes the job a lot easier. So I believe it is. You can go to
Who?
climatetalkingpoints.com. Is that what it was? Or climatetalkingpoints.co? Which one was it?
Yeah, I don't know. You sent me the link. So who?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Energytalkingpoints.com. That's what it was.
there you go.
Um,
Who is this guy? Because you know him. I know you've mentioned it before.
yeah.
I don't.
I,
I'm not.
See, folks, this is how you can tell which one of us is actually the real hippie. Me and Ben have talked about this guy. I don't know, maybe once an episode since we started the show.
I'm trying to Okay.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
You're on the front lines. You're planting shit in the gardens, and it's up to dweebs like
No.
me to read the books, bro. I get it.
I'm trying to figure out who he is for dear listeners that don't know
All right.
where they can go find the man. Give him his credit.
He is the Center for Industrial Progress. This is his group, but he is probably most famous for his book, The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels, which he is currently working on an updated version of. I have yet to read it, and I'm waiting patiently for the second edition because I want it. I want it bad.
Yeah, be a good read. We should get him to come on the show. Or try.
If he wasn't so big time, I definitely would. We just gotta reach out and get that other guy, but it was so hard. His one of his head researchers was cool to come on, but Ben has a terrible schedule for getting people to come on. At least people that live in Germany.
Yeah.
So
I can swing it sometimes. Then you had to go back to work. You started working again. I was like, yeah, what you doing working?
Paying off my bills, so I can move out in the country too, Ben. Anyways, so Alex went through and there's a little readme in there that explains it, but there's basically 5 sheets with between 6 and 8 talking points on various different topics. In particular, energy policy. There's 8 on reducing CO2 emissions, Joe Biden's energy plan, the so-called climate crisis, which we've talked about a lot recently. And then there's the wind production tax credit, which I think is something that they're trying to push through or is something that already exists that we need to get rid of. I'm not entirely sure which way he's going to go with it. I personally thought it would be interesting to kind of go through the energy policy and or the Joe Biden energy plan. Like we did the Blue New Deal, so to speak. Alex actually condensed the work down for us on this one, so there's that.
Yes, sir.
What do you think?
He did. I'm good to go either way. I feel like the energy policy is kind of umbrellas it all. All the rest kind of gets caught in there. Yeah, the wind production thing, it's a little specific, but
Tell you
yeah.
what.
And one of the things I really like about this, before we get going, like they're talking points, but like they're condensed down to, like, you could put that in a tweet. Like they're short enough you could really just throw it out there, and it's I don't know, beautiful thing.
I think we'll run with the Joe Biden energy plan one, just because we haven't really talked much about Biden in a while. And with this, folks, if I'm gonna link to it in the show notes, but he's literally got the references for fucking everything in here. Like, hey, go look the stuff up if you don't believe me. So, let's dig in. At what Alex's talking points on the Joe Biden energy plan are.
I didn't even know he had like an energy plan.
They all have
like these. I know, and that's half of it, right? Like they all have these. Every single one of them has one of these, but like you don't.
Man, you didn't even know Joe Biden was still running for president. You haven't seen him pop out of the fucking little hole. It doesn't even come on Zoom hardly ever.
I thought he fell asleep. Stuck in a nursing home somewhere. Forgot where he was.
We could only hope, but then what do we get? Kamala Harris as president?
It's just a matter of time.
I don't know which is more terrifying. I do. Kamala is way more terrifying
than Joe. Yeah, I was going to say Kamala, definitely, for sure.
Kamala Cop.
Stay away from that one.
So let's, I guess, start at the top. The first point on here is energy schemes around the world are based on unreliables. Solar and wind have been driving up electricity costs, harming economies, destroying domestic industries, and harming consumers. Germans pay 3 times as much as the U.S. electricity prices to get just 1/3 of their electricity from solar and wind.
Yeah. So it's funny because I remember watching that the Green Dragon video there and documentary, and it's just like how much this stuff gets built and then just like broken and goes to waste, and like what are the costs associated with that, and think about all the garbage that's created from that, and this is supposed to be it's renewable, it must be good, it's renewable. I like the unreliable, because you always hear the renewable and non-renewable resources, and yes, maybe it's renewable, but it's unreliable, and that's
you can't have it without the other thing anyway. That's the thing. Like if you can't get rid of the coal or whatever it is to put this stuff in, and you still need to have that other stuff, then there's no point. All you're doing is making it more expensive to have the other stuff because you're having it still plus other costs. It's not making anything cheaper or more affordable. It's not making more energy. It's not helping the environment because you're still running the other shit,
Yeah, and that's, I think when you kind of boil it down, that's where it lays, right? Like you still need this other thing. And yes, you might need a little bit less of it, but you still need it. And so it could be useful, like wind or solar or whatever could be useful if it wasn't just so destructive, like, is it worth, same thing with like corn, right? Is it worth using a food product to create fuel when you have this other sort of fuel lying around, right?
Well, here, let's break this down.
Are the processes all worth it,
It's not even about wasting a food product. You're wasting land that could be making other foods when you can instead be pumping something out of the ground. You're wasting
and that's it, right? Like, yeah, and that's it, right? Like, what are those other, I don't want to say unseen necessarily, but the other costs that we don't consider, or that your average person doesn't think about.
Well, we're gonna kind of get into a little bit now here. The next talking point is Instead of learning from the failures of unreliable energy schemes, the Biden plan seeks to do far worse by outlawing reliable fossil fuel electricity and forcing Americans to pay $2 trillion, or in other words, $7,500 a household, for a solar and wind-based grid that can't possibly work. So
So,
that's the cost to every American's. So, you know how much? I don't know about you, but like if that's the cost of anything, okay, how much do you pay for your electricity a year?
I don't know. I can do the math quick.
What
Maybe
what I can tell you
12.
is it's way less than that.
Maybe about $2,000, less than $2,000, a little bit less.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So you're gonna pay $2,000. You know, you're gonna pay an extra $7,500. So basically, the next 3 years worth of energy tacked on to make every year's worth of energy more expensive.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get this. I get what he's saying.
It's a tax, you know. We're just trying. They're trying to tax
Well,
us to make us not use it. That's the idea, right?
yeah, I also feel like it's a bit of hyperbole from Biden. Like, I'm going to make this illegal. We're going to outlaw, fossil fuels. Like, that's not going to happen. You can't do that. Maybe your rhetoric, and that's the ideas that are out there, but it's absurd to even think that like you could go there, that you could even do that. Things would just even if you did make that mandate, how long before everything just falls apart?
What do you mean
Like
falls apart exactly?
before the money catches up, before all the infrastructure falls apart. Like you don't have the infrastructure for that at all. Like how many businesses are you going to put out of business because you've just shut down their main source of income, their resources, their everything, right? Like they can't get stuff, or it's more expensive to get stuff, or the whole line of items. Like it's insane. It's insane to think about that someone would actually suggest that we should outlaw fossil fuels.
I mean, it's no system that works anywhere near as well as whatever. Joe Biden says that forcing Americans to rely on unreliable solar and wind will create jobs, but making electricity unreliable and unaffordable doesn't create jobs. It destroys them. Just ask the UK aluminum industry, which green energy schemes are driving out of business.
I mean,
he's completely unaware of that.
I don't know how I feel about this necessarily. Like, I think I get it, right? You're going to destroy those jobs. At the same time, like your jobs are going to be created when you are forcing solar panels to be built, or forcing wind turbines to be built, or erected, or whatever. You're gonna create something there.
As
And
many jobs.
if well, and that's it, right? And like so does the
But let's also not remember you have jobs for something that people want versus jobs
right,
for something that people don't want.
right, and that's it. And it comes down to the government mandate, right? Like if this is a government force, then okay, yeah. But like you just
I don't think
you
you or
got to
I are
get deeper
again.
into that, because I think when you just like surface say, oh well, my plan is going to create jobs, and the trucking industry may have put carriage drivers out of business, right? Like taxi cars might have put, I don't know, trolleys out, whatever it is, right? But that's just the ebb and flow of things, right? Like it's going to become more efficient. Like there's going to be like your checkout clerk that's now you check yourself out. Yeah, maybe you lost jobs there, but it's a trade-off. And
but that's the point we're talking about here. What you're talking about is moving from an older system to a more modern system. That's not what we're doing. Like I think we forget that windmills and utilizing the sun for energy have existed a long fucking time. they're very old technologies. The idea that we're trying to pretend that those are some modern solution to energy needs is kind of fucking ludicrous. Like the fact of the matter is that yeah, windmills, they were using them in like what, the 1700s. That's how you
Yeah.
made your grain.
Yeah.
Like you utilize wind energy. That's not new. And the innovation that's happened in that time period, well, I'm sorry, it's if the market deemed that it was the appropriate
Right.
way to do things, I've got no problems with that. The problem is that it's not. It's an archaic technology that even its best level of efficiency doesn't come anywhere near
Yeah.
fossil fuels.
I'm
It's
I get it. I agree with it. Like, because of its government mandate, I understand. I wonder though if, fossil fuels, if the oil industry wasn't subsidized the way it is, would we not have figured out a more efficient way to use things like wind or solar or geothermal or tide or whatever it may be?
well, and this is kind of what I got from Schellenberger's book. His book focuses a lot on the density of energy. And the bottom line is that the density of energy that you get from wind turbines and solar power just doesn't fucking come close to the density of energy from dead fucking dinosaurs and algae.
And it may not, and we may never be able to manufacture a way that those two things are
I'm actually
level.
putting more stock in the algae that they have that puts off oil that you can grow in the ocean.
Yeah, but and that's what I mean though, right? Like, there's other ways that we could develop renewable
Hey,
energies
hey, you know what's
that
even better than fossil fuels? Nuclear. That's the point.
sh-
The next technology already exists. We already have it. They just
yeah,
refuse to let us use it.
yeah, that's true. I
Meanwhile,
forgot about our friend
hey,
nuclear.
here's something to think about. What's the gold standard for energy in the U.S. military?
Diesel fuel, right?
No, no, I'm pretty sure all of those fucking submarines in the ocean, for the most part, run on nuclear engines,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
have for a long time. So I don't know. It just seems like the most expensive military in the world probably wouldn't be shortcutting on the what they put in the goddamn submarines. Could
You
be
wouldn't think
wrong.
so.
They
You
do a
wouldn't
bunch
think
of dumb
so.
stuff, I suppose. So
Yeah. Yeah. Moving on. Number 4, right?
is that where we're at?
I believe so.
All
Yeah. Joe
right.
Biden says that forcing Americans to rely on unreliable solar and wind will help middle class Americans. The cost of energy affects the cost of everything. Skyrocketing energy costs will drive skyrocketing food, housing, healthcare, and transportation costs.
In
Yeah.
other words, the plastics that we used to make everything are fucking expensive. Will become more expensive. Uh, Certainly the way that they're going to try and do this. Also, getting all of the shit to and from places, everything that you order. I'm assuming the prices are going to rise on all of your fossil fueled fertilizers for your plants. Now, granted, I think we should be
Hey man,
using
it's
different fertilizers too, but that's
fossil
not
fuels
what
are
we use.
illegal now. Joe Biden's in office and fossil fuels are illegal. None of that matters.
And then, what like I said, and all of these things they try and put into the guise of like helping people long term. Well, at the end of the day, none of those people are going to live long term because you just made it so poor, so expensive for them to live overnight.
Yeah.
Like the reason we have all the great shit we have is basically because it's fucking easy to get, and that's kind of fossil fuels.
Yeah.
I wish that we had something that we could utilize instead, but nothing fucking works like that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So I mean, even if you switch to electric cars, all that's made on coal. So
Well,
good luck,
that
everybody.
was I that that's what, like, I find so amusing. All, like, the electric vehicles and stuff, right? All the EV vehicles. Like, wait, have you thought it through? Do you realize that you're plugging your car? Like,
No,
where
Ben,
do you think that's coming from?
they
Like, I
don't.
just
That's the biggest. That's like one of the biggest things about most things is that They're trying to separate you from the actual decision making. They're going to separate you from the costs. That's why people spend so much stupid fucking money on college, because they separate them from the costs by guaranteeing the loans. Like, you go to college and you just, tell the government to pay for it until you're out, and then you see what you really spent it on that. And you go, holy shit, that's how much I spent on that? I hope I got something valuable. And then you find out you didn't get something valuable, and oh my God.
Yeah. Not worth
But the
nickel.
idea is, it's much easier to you take the sting out of that buying decision by making it the upfront cost nothing.
Yeah.
It's fucking, that's a scam in my book.
Yeah. You should take him to court. Class action against that. Yeah.
So America is already too reliant on unreliable solar and wind. That's why utilities are already blacking out many of their industrial customers. And grids in Texas and the Northeast are warning of blackouts for everyone if policies don't change. Biden's plan will guarantee blackouts.
As a kid, I never thought much of blackouts. Like, I didn't, it wasn't so, like, it wasn't something I thought about, right? Because, like, in the summer, if the power went out, you dealt with it. It wasn't so hot that it was unbearable. In the winter, we had a wood stove, so we could cook and do everything on the wood stove if we wanted. It wasn't an issue. Down here, I don't have that luxury in the summer. When the power goes out, my AC is out and it's hot, man. And like, I didn't think about that in the Northeast, like people not everybody has a wood stove. And when the power goes out, it's freaking cold, man.
Out of curiosity,
your pipes are going to freeze and they're going to burst. And yeah.
Who is your provider up north?
It was NIMO.
Yeah, we had
I want to say
Niagara Mohawk.
Yeah. Niagara Mohawk.
In other words, a giant hydroelectric fucking energy grid.
Yes, sir.
It stops the river from flowing. Nothing. It's just kind of what they do.
Yeah.
So the idea of blackouts are kind of silly.
Well, it's just that, power play.
You add to that, like, take out the population density.
Yeah.
Like, there's nobody even there.
I don't like. Number 5? Let me see. Does it have a footnote? Number 4. Let's see. What is it? Grid's reserve margin is above expected peak. I'm curious to hear, like, what why the Northeast is saying this, right? Likely to be at risk of fuel shortages and rolling blackouts thanks to limited natural gas pipeline capacity. Coming years, as more oil, coal, and nuclear leave the system, keeping the lights on New England will become an even more tenuous proposition. So, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I believe like New England, they got rid of a nuclear energy and watched their prices go the fuck up because they never replaced it with anything.
Yeah, well, I was just curious about it because it seems like, I always thought most of the power from, in upstate there at least came from NIMO. But anyway,
here's another good one. This is one that I've kind of waffled on personally. I really don't know how I feel about it because I just feel like I've seen so much on both sides. But Joe Biden's support of a ban on fracking, which is required to produce over 60% of American oil and 75% of American natural gas. This would destroy millions of jobs and once again make us dangerously dependent on the Middle East and Russia. Do we want to be at the mercy of the likes of Vladimir Putin? And I love that talking point because, I mean, he's tying it into the whole Russiagate thing.
Well, I think it's yeah. I mean, and that's it, right? Like, if you're criticizing, you're using this to critique Joe Biden, and you're gonna, throw this whole Russia thing in there. It's like, well, that's the same thing you were, bothering Trump about.
You hated Trump about it, so I mean,
yeah.
Clearly, we're just throwing a bone to Vladimir Putin with this policy, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Fracking. I don't know. I mean, I don't think there should be really a ban on it necessarily. I haven't looked at like how it plays out. I do think it's a little different. I'm not
Well,
sure that
mind you,
they're
I'd like to see private property rights solve that issue, and that like
right.
you don't just
Hmm.
get to eminent domain your way into property.
I think when you start getting, it's crazy, because I think when you start getting into some of this bigger stuff, right, like fracking and oil shale and stuff like that, like there might be larger repercussions that we're not quite aware of, that I don't think even private property would necessarily protect. Like if some of this is true about the seismic waves and creating all these little mini waves that react into, or you know what I mean, turn into bigger earthquake type things. I don't know. I'm not sure you can pinpoint that on
If that's
any
true, I mean
individual.
that's something to pay attention to. I have yet to see the evidence for that.
Well, and that's it. And I don't think
I think
it's
that
too new, and I don't think there will be. It's too big. It's how do you put that together? It'd be the same nonsense that we have with like climate change. It's too big. We don't know, and we suck at modeling. So go figure.
so. Um, I mean, mind you, like you said, putting millions of people out of work. Like the growth of the natural gas industry has been one of the biggest things driving our economy. So
Yeah.
killing that means just shoot fucking holes, like Swiss cheese the shit out of our any hope of having a competitive nation, I guess.
But our think about the children and the grandchildren,
Well, if you
and
can't
how their
eat,
homes are all going to
then
be underwater.
and they will not be. And in particular, so let's go point number 7. Joe Biden's plan to force Americans to use unreliable solar and wind won't stop global CO2 levels from rising because China and the others won't be stupid enough to follow suit. The only thing it will bring about is an economic and security crisis in America. Like we said, let's make ourselves so fucking poor and do nothing because we're barely a blip on the screen, like as far as what the fuck the pollution is in the world. Everybody else pollutes.
That's like a really big point, I think, and that like in and of itself should be a point, that where the US ranks on pollution scales, right? Like I think that if you just asked, your everyday person, how much pollution do you think, on a grand scale, like where does the US rank in pollution? I think it would be in the top 3 every single time, if not number 1. um if you educated people might say something like China or India or something over there.
I
But
say
generally
that I
speaking,
will
I
say
don't
that
think
we
that's the
are,
case.
as long as we're including the U.S. military.
Well, yeah, okay.
If we're
But
including that as pollution,
I don't think like people realize that like, just even if you shut the US down and there was no more pollution coming out of the United States, like any kind of whatever, it's a drop in a bucket. It's not going to change things are still going to keep going, and it's not. So do you sacrifice yourself for nothing, and just everybody dies, and we'll build up from the ground,
well,
and
but that's the thing. You're not even
you know
sacrificing yourself for nothing. It's like less than nothing. Like it, you're just shooting yourself in the face for no reason. Like it's,
right.
hey, I'm gonna commit suicide because I don't know. Like because any like what we would actually have to do to solve the problem will never happen. So I guess we just die. It's the only option. You get back to that whole, humanity is a fucking disease, and we just need to kill ourselves and get rid of ourselves. It's the only fix. I disagree.
Yeah.
Why don't
Yeah.
you take
Yeah.
us out with the last one here?
Yeah. Okay. If Joe Biden and other Democrats want to lower global CO2 emissions, they should stop demonizing and criminalizing reliable non-carbon nuclear energy and lower carbon natural gas. Instead, the Biden plan continues the overregulation of nuclear and supports banning natural gas. There we are. There it is. Nuclear brings us home. It is. nuclear is evil. It's evil. It's awful. And I don't know what it'll take for it to come around. I don't know if it can come around. I don't know if the general consensus will ever come around to nuclear being like an answer. Right now I don't think it's even on the table. I mean, it use it, it exists, and that's a good thing. But in terms of replacing everything, I don't think that's even on the table. You'd have every left social justice woke, anyway.
So I mean, we're at an impasse where we can't do anything. That's what it sounds like. Nothing that we can do will work, and all the things that we're planning on doing are going to destroy us. Because that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, I guess we're screwed. I think it depends. I mean, like, none of this. I think, in terms of like, how would it play out, right? Like, if I just don't see politicians like banning or pushing this stuff that hard, because the oil industry is a big industry. Like, that's a big lobby. There's a lot of money there.
Yeah, but as you
and
saw,
as a politician, that's what you care about.
Think back, Planet of the Humans. Wow, like, guess what? All those oil industries, they realized the writing was on the wall, and they all got into the other energy industries too. So now it's their same money making money off of the fucking the other energy sectors, like the renewables of the what do you call it, the wind and solar. And guess what, Ben? They can make even better money on that because those are really expensive. Which means, man, you're gonna need to work even harder. Which means that they gotta catch that profit margin.
I mean, I guess I can see the oil industry doing that. All right, so let me correct that. The people that rely upon the oil industry couldn't allow for that. You couldn't.
There's the joke, Ben. That's everybody. And
that's what I mean.
And you're going to do whatever they tell you
couldn't.
to. You're going to put carbon credits in there, and you're going to deal with it. They're going to raise costs and move to shittier options. You're going to deal with it. You know why? Because you have a life, and you have to deal with your life, and you need energy to do every part of your life. Like, if when you make energy expensive, dude, we're burning dung in fucking wood stoves. That's what we're doing when we get rid of energy, cheap energy.
Yeah.
And guess what? You remember how good that is for the world?
Take us back a couple hundred years. Yeah.
And even if we can afford the costs, dude, those people in fucking Africa and India, other nations that haven't reached first world status, like, dude, they're the ones that get fucked the hardest. Because guess what? Oh wait, that's right. Everything fucks the poor worst.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just the bottom line. Being poor makes it more difficult to do shit. Makes everything suck. So
yeah,
let's go ahead and take one of the biggest costs that everyone has to deal with and make it worse.
Man, I don't know. Do you think people would realize it?
I don't know. I think some people are starting to wake up. Hopefully more do.
Yeah.
So, well, what do you think in general? We ran through one of the flyers he gave out, one of his 8 talking points on the Joe Biden energy plan. Well, how do you think his points work? You like it?
Yeah, no, I definitely like them. They're quick, soundbitey. They're dense. There's background on them if you want to dig deeper.
Yeah.
And
Do you think we're converting anyone, or you think you were just kind of trying to hold our own in the fight with these?
I don't know.
Do you
I
think
like
the
to
left's
think.
listening?
That's what I was going to say, man. I like to think that there are people out there that are willing to listen and can reason. At the same time, I feel like, a lot of that sort of left environmentalist, woke crowd folk don't know how to listen,
Yeah.
aren't willing to have a conversation. But at the same time, right, you get into those arguments, or you have that conversation, and the person you're having the conversation with might not change their mind, but somebody else that was on the fence, who wouldn't necessarily confront you about something like this, might hear it. They might tune into it and say, oh, hey, wait a minute, maybe I'll look into that. I don't know. My thoughts.
So, well, I hope the audience gets a little bit out of this one. Like I said, it's over at energytalkingpoints.com. You can pick up all these for yourself. If you want to go home for Labor Day and like talk to your new college student nephews and nieces and tell them they're all fucking stupid and be the crazy uncle.
Slap them around.
Get yourself called a Trump supporter a bunch of times.
They are they're good. If nothing else, they're worth a read, just to give yourself a little bit of knowledge. Yeah.
So, right on, man. Well, like I said, hopefully it helps out somebody. I know I was excited to see them actually come out, and I mean, Alex does a lot of good work for us. So,
yeah, he does.
I guess we'll go for the week, and we'll see you next week, and hopefully next week we're gonna be putting out a Captain Planet.
Yeah, I think we got Captain Planet, got guests, we got all sorts of fun stuff.
Nice. I'm excited. Ben's been talking about this guest for months, and he finally got her. So
for months, I think.
It may have been a year at this point, actually.
She's been on my show a couple times, so she's reachable. She's reachable.
Nice.
She's just busy lady.
Nice. So, all right, everybody, we'll go forth into the wild blue yonder and the Shire or wherever it is that you live. Take care of that shit, because there's a lot of people that want to make that harder.
Yeah, if you don't take care of it, there's more reason for them to say we have to take care of it.
Yeah, I hate that reasoning, but take care of it, because if they get control of it, they won't. They'll just burn it up.
Yeah. Yep.
So, all right, folks, take it easy.
All right, I need to come up